France is at it again, meddling in West African business, and this time they've been caught with their hand in their mouth, like they've been caught in action. So a couple of days back, the Algerian state radio reported that France had requested to fly in through the airspace, through the Algerian airspace, to launch military attack in Niger. Now, let's backtrack a little bit if you're new to the channel or if you're new to African affairs and what has been happening in West Africa and the Sahel region. There has been a lot of unrest. Towards the end of last month, July, the military junta or the presidential elite guard ousted the former president of Niger, Mohamed Bazoum, from office, seized power, arrested several members of his cabinet, and declared that Niger is under military rule until further notice, where they will have to sit down, have conversations, and hand over power to a civilian government. The reason why the military went ahead with the coup was that they were not happy with how the country was being governed. If you look at Niger, is a country that is rich in resources. About over 20% of their uranium is exported to countries like France, yet less than 20% of the country has electricity. That technically does not make sense. It's a country rich with resources. It's strategically located, but it's a poor country. To say it as is, Niger is a poor country. It heavily relies on aid. Over 1 million of its people are risking hunger. Its children are also hungry, and they heavily depend on international assistance to fund critical sectors such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And so the military, in their wisdom, said this is not how to run a country. And what has to be taken into account is that the people of Niger have come out in the streets and are in support of this coup. However, not everybody is happy about the coup, including France. Now, if you follow the riots and the people coming out in the streets in favor of the military junta taking over power, they're speaking against France, they're speaking against the West. They're saying they do not want French influence in their country. They do not want Emmanuel Macron in their country. They want to be Niger, free of France. They already gained their independence. They don't understand why they're still under the chokehold of France. Some of the protests were even taken to the French embassy, where they banned staff outside the gate, and, you know, France had began evacuating its people from the country. France also said that it does not mind a military intervention in the country should their interests be threatened. Like I had mentioned earlier on, France does business with West Africa, and unfair and unscrupulous business in West Africa, and majority of its uranium, over 20%, comes from Niger. So that might be the interest that maybe Emmanuel Macron was talking about, which supersedes the human rights and the well-being of the people of Niger, apparently. And so the Algerian state radio reported that the French government had requested to fly through the Algerian airspace in order to carry out a military attack in Niger. Now, note that state radios, it happens across Africa that different African countries have state broadcasting agencies, and these agencies speak on behalf of the government. They're the official government line of communication with the people. So there is some form of credibility in what they are saying. However, when this statement came out, France came out and refuted it. But before we get to that, Algeria was very categorical in saying that they favor mediation and a peaceful resolution as opposed to war. And that should tell you that Africans are beginning to wake up and realizing that the merchants of war benefit from Africa being at war with itself, yet Africans themselves are the ones who are left to pay the price of the war and the aftermath of the war. And I think Algeria is very woke. They've seen what happened to their neighbor in Libya, and so they know that intervention, particularly intervention from the West, is never the solution, and if any solution, is not the best solution. So France has come out to refute this claim and said they've not said anything of that kind, but it's up to you to decide. Are you going to believe France, or are you going to believe the Algerian state radio? We all know that the West has a track record of inciting, influencing, and funding violence on the continent because chaos enabled them to thrive because of the nature in which they do business, how they perceive Africa. They have very little respect for the continent, the people of the continent, and all they see is cheap labor and all the mineral resources that they can exploit from the continent. So it's also just very fair to say that in as much as the Algerian government is reporting that France had requested to use their airspace. France is coming out and refuting these allegations, and it's up to you to decide who you want to believe in this scenario. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I'm a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator, and I make content on Africa, Black people, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. I'll see you again next time.